Crows on Mount Tabor, from the Field Notes of J. Duke. Crows on Mount Tabor aren't afraid of anything. They aren't afraid of you. They aren't afraid of me. They aren't afraid of hawks or owls or cars or your gnarly-ass pit bull. The crows on Mount Tabor like to sit on the southern edge of the reservoir. The breeze is nice, and the sun, when it reflects on the water, makes their feathers look like lava glass. They sit there all day, and why shouldn't they? There's 30 of them. You can't chase them because of the fence, and you can't make more noise than them. You can't fly, and you better not piss them off. They will never forget. They will tell their friends, they will tell their chicks, they will tell their friends' chicks, and they will pass it down for generations, and every day for the rest of your life will be like a bad scene from an Alfred Hitchcock movie. That's why the crows on Mount Tabor aren't afraid of anybody. One day, there was this crow that found a liverwurst sandwich. It was just sitting there, right out in the open, in the hand of an 8-year-old girl sitting at a picnic table. The teacher, who had brought the little girl there with her class, chased after the bird with a walking stick, shouting and swinging, but it was too late. The bird was gone. And the girl didn't mind. She knew the bird was coming. In fact, she prayed for it. And right before that disgusting sandwich was carried away up over the treetops, she felt the tingle in the back of her head that one day would make her a millionaire. But for right now was just a quiet little voice saying, "Don't worry, kid, we got you covered." Well, the crow flew up over the picnic shelter and up over the small extinct crater of Mount Tabor and the Douglas fir trees to the other side of the summit, where he landed with the sandwich on a new bronze bust of York. York, the only slave of Lewis and Clark and the first African American to cross the Continental Divide to the Pacific Ocean. York, whose bust was stood up on this pedestal by guerrilla artists in the night after the previous statue of a newspaper magnate was tagged and toppled by demonstrators. York, who never actually stood on Mount Tabor, but who did one day in 1806 stand on the edge of the Columbia Slough about 12 miles to the north with a sandwich, if that is what you could call a piece of dry bread and squirrel leather, and then a big black crow, the ancestral progenitor of this crow sitting on the bronze bust of York, flew down from a yew tree and grabbed that squirrel leather sandwich of York the explorer and flew up and away and over the Columbia Slough while York the explorer swore and cursed and shook his walking stick and watched his only likely food for the day fly away. York hated crows. Well, the 21st century crow put his loot down on the top of the bust of York and pecked at it tentatively because this was the first time he had ever encountered a liverwurst sandwich. When he noticed a red-headed teenager bombing down the hill on a skateboard, a kid he recognized that had 2 months earlier thrown rocks in the reservoir to splash his crew. He left his sandwich and lit off of his perch to go buzz that impudent, disrespectful skateboarder, which left the sandwich wide open. A squirrel, perhaps the 21st century descendant of York's squirrel leather, ran up to the pedestal, grabbed the sandwich, and split. Now, squirrels on Mount Tabor aren't afraid of crows. Squirrels aren't afraid of anybody. In case you hadn't noticed, they own this place. It's true. Even if you live on the shoulder of Mount Tabor in one of those mid-century houses with new solar panels on the roof and a raised bed asparagus garden, it all still belongs to the squirrels. You could sit in the backyard in a wicker chair, reading a copy of Street Roots and drinking a kombucha, and a fat squirrel will swagger across a garage roof, clicking and chirping like a drunken sailor, jump into the dogwood tree, and then swing and jump from branch to branch over to the maple and then across the yard, getting louder and more obnoxious all the way until he's perched and bobbing on a limb directly over your head, swearing and cursing in squirrel. Now, you may not speak squirrel, but you know exactly what he's saying. He's saying, "This is my garden. These are my grapes. These are my figs. And don't you even think of those baby squirrels, you sweaty, hairless. I'll chew you up like an acorn. But just as things are about to come to blows, the slow, silent shadow of an owl crosses over the flagstone patio. The squirrel shuts up his nut hole and scurries back into the bough of the tree. Squirrels on Mount Tabor aren't afraid of owls, but they aren't stupid. Owls on Mount Tabor, on the other hand, are not particularly brave birds. They just don't see much purpose in fear. They think fear is a misunderstanding of the situation. Owls are the gatekeepers between two worlds, this one and the next. For rats, mice, marmots, moles, and squirrels, they are the doormen to the netherworld. They keep the hinges on that door well-oiled and ready, talons sharp, vision keen, wings trim, to guide a variety of small mammals on Mount Tabor instantly to their destination. They don't really see themselves as predators, more like public servants. They are not really acting with violence. To them, it's more like directing traffic, passing through the gate continuously like bubbles in a stream flowing from the infinite sea and sky that came before to the infinite sea and sky that follows. And there's no need to be afraid of the door when the shadow passes over and it opens, because the infinite sea and sky on one side of the door and the infinite sea and sky on the other are the same infinite sea and sky. And we are all already there all the time. At least that's what owls think.